Fix this helicopter, I'll kiss you right now, CEO mocked the single dad janitor before everyone. The hangar doors were wide open, sunlight spilling across polished floors and expensive shoes. Cameras hovered, executives whispered, and the city's most powerful CEO stood beside a sleek black helicopter that refused to start. Unbelievable, she scoffed, tapping her heel. Millions spent and it won't even lift. That's when her eyes landed on Ethan Cole, the janitor, gray uniform, oil-stained gloves tucked into his belt, lunch pail by his feet. He had been mopping quietly near the exit, head down, trying to be invisible the way invisible people learn to be. "Hey," she called out, loud enough for the room to turn. "You. Janitor." Ethan froze. "If you can fix this helicopter," she said with a smirk, "I'll kiss you right now." In front of everyone. Laughter erupted. Phones came out. Someone whistled. Ethan felt the heat crawl up his neck, not embarrassment alone, but something heavier. He was a single dad. His daughter Mia, 8 years old, waited at home with homework spread across the kitchen table and hope stitched into every smile she gave him. He worked nights and cleaned days because hope doesn't pay rent, but effort sometimes does. He met the CEO's eyes. Not angry. Not pleading. Just calm. "I can take a look," he said. More laughter. "You," an executive snorted. "That's cute." Ethan stepped closer anyway. He circled the helicopter slowly, listening, really listening, the way he used to when his hands were steadier and his life hadn't broken in half. He noticed the faint click on ignition, the subtle fuel imbalance, the way the rotor hesitated like it was scared to trust itself. His fingers moved on instinct. "You're wasting our time," the CEO said, folding her arms. Ethan didn't answer. He reached under the panel, adjusted a misaligned coupling, recalibrated the fuel valve, and tightened a loose grounding wire that no one else had bothered to check. "Try now," he said softly. The pilot pressed the ignition. The helicopter roared to life, smooth, powerful, alive. Silence fell like a dropped glass. The CEO stared. The laughter died mid-breath. Cameras kept rolling. Ethan stepped back, wiping his hands on a rag. "That'll hold," he said. "But you'll want a full inspection later." The CEO opened her mouth, then closed it, and for the first time, the room wasn't laughing at the janitor, they were staring at him. The CEO walked toward Ethan, heels echoing. The promise she'd made hung in the air like smoke. "Well," someone whispered. "A deal's a deal." She stopped in front of him, eyes scanning his uniform, his tired face, the quiet dignity he hadn't lost even when the world tried to strip it from him. Ethan shook his head before she could speak. "I don't want a kiss," he said. "I want respect." The room shifted. "My daughter thinks I clean floors because it keeps places safe," he continued. "She's not wrong. But before that, I fixed aircraft. I trained pilots. I built things that flew. Life happened. I didn't stop being capable, I just stopped being seen." The CEO swallowed. "What's your name?" she asked. "Ethan." She turned to the executives. "Clear the room." They hesitated. "Now." When the doors closed, she faced him again, this time without the smirk. "You fixed in 5 minutes what my top engineers missed," she said. "Why are you here?" "Because Mia needed dinner more than I needed pride," Ethan replied. "Because starting over is harder than people think." She nodded slowly. "I mocked you," she said. "And I was wrong." She extended her hand. "I'm Clara Hayes. And I'd like to offer you a position, lead maintenance consultant. Triple your current pay. Flexible hours." Ethan hesitated, not for himself, but for the small apartment with crayon drawings taped to the fridge. "Only if I can still pick my daughter up from school," he said. Clara smiled, genuine this time. "Deal." That evening, Ethan walked into his apartment to find Mia at the table, math book open. "Daddy. You're early." He knelt, pulling her into a hug. "Guess what? Your dad fixed something big today." She beamed. "See? I told you were a hero." Ethan smiled, not because of the job, or the helicopter, or the CEO's apology, but because for the first time in a long while, the world had listened. And sometimes, that's how change begins, not with power, but with patience. The next morning, Ethan didn't walk into the building through the service entrance. For the first time, he stepped through the glass front doors. People noticed, heads turned. Conversations paused. The same executives who had laughed yesterday now straightened their posture as he passed. His uniform was gone, replaced with a simple button-down shirt and worn shoes that still carried the memory of long nights and hard floors. Respect hadn't erased his past. It had finally caught up to it. In the conference room, Clara stood at the head of the table. She watched Ethan take a seat, not at the back, not near the wall, but right beside her. Some smiled awkwardly. Others avoided his eyes. Before we begin, Clara said calmly, there's something I need to say. She turned to the room. Yesterday, I failed as a leader. I confused status with value. And I humiliated a man who deserved neither. A tight silence wrapped the table. Ethan felt a knot in his chest, not anger, not pride, but something unfamiliar, validation. Clara continued, Ethan Cole isn't just our new lead maintenance consultant. He's proof that talent doesn't disappear when life gets hard. We just stop looking for it. One executive cleared his throat. We didn't know his background. Ethan finally spoke. You didn't ask, he said, not accusing, just honest. The meeting moved on, but something had shifted. Ideas flowed. Problems were solved faster. Ethan spoke when it mattered, and when he did, people listened. But the real test didn't come in the boardroom. It came that evening. Mia's school auditorium buzzed with parents and folding chairs. Kids lined up nervously backstage, clutching paper crowns and cardboard stars. Ethan sat in the second row, phone ready, heart full. Ladies and gentlemen, the teacher announced, welcome to career night. One by one, parents stood. Doctors. Business owners. Engineers. Then Mia's name was called. She walked onto the stage, scanned the crowd, and spotted Ethan. Her face lit up. My dad is Ethan, she said proudly into the microphone. He fixes things. Sometimes floors. Sometimes helicopters. Soft laughter rippled through the room. But he also fixes broken days, she added. When I'm scared. When things don't work. He never gives up. Ethan felt his eyes burn. He says it doesn't matter what people call you, Mia finished. It matters what you do when no one is clapping. The room stood. Applause thundered, not the mocking kind, not the polite kind, but the kind that arrives after truth has been spoken. Ethan didn't stand right away. He stayed seated, hands shaking, heart steady, because for once, the applause wasn't late. It was right on time.